All right, hey everybody, it's Luke, and I'm recording this, and we're just getting past the Berlin Marathon, and we're kind of into that in full swing of fall marathon season. We got Twin Cities next week, Wine Glass, Chicago, Detroit, all these races coming up, and so I start to see it a lot this time of year, where people who are running later fall marathons, maybe they feel pretty good and they want to know if they can bump up the training, or people are just finishing results and they had a great segment and they just something happened, they didn't run to what their expectations were. And so it just so happens that I came across an interesting article from Steve Magness the other day. It's a quick blog post he had up, it was called "How the Need to Prove Yourself in Practice Can Ruin Your Race Day." So I thought that as well. It's good timing. I see that a lot right now. So um, it was a short post, and I thought he made a couple of good points, but I was kind of left wondering what else there was to it. So I wanna kind of go into that, but first I want to touch on what his two big conclusions were. So I guess to start off, first he showed a couple week segment of workouts he was doing when he was really fit, when he was younger, and monster workouts. Anybody would be super impressed, and basically the point where he thought he was gonna walk on water, and then he didn't perform to what he thought he would. But I think we all go through that sometimes, right? Like we're in really good shape, and then it just doesn't happen. And so with Steve, what he pointed out was he came to two big conclusions on that, and one was that getting fit was easy, so it was pretty easy for him to get fit. And then a second one was if you are sufficiently motivated, it is easy to train yourself into the ground. And these are two things I see all the time. I see people, um, they can get fit pretty quickly, and they can get fit fairly easy. And I'll go into that a little bit more. I don't know if easy is quite the right word, but you see it a lot. And then so if you're most of the people I coach with on an individual basis, like motivation is rarely the problem, right? Like most of my job as a coach with these people is not necessarily to motivate them. Usually I'm usually the one pulling the reins back and trying to get them to be less aggressive rather than the other way around. I don't find myself very often trying to get people psyched up for workouts, unless not, obviously people go through ebbs and flows, but for the most part, and I coach a lot of the same people for a fairly long time, that's usually not the problem. The problem is usually trying to get them to come back to earth a little bit, right? And doing it in a manner where I'm not crushing their confidence, right? So that's where I see. And then, over the rest of the article, he discussed about how easy it was how was the coach's job to make sure that they express the fitness you gained in training in the form of quality race results. So like, how do we know we can get you fit, and that's fairly easy, right? And I use air quotes for easy. And like I said, I see that a lot. Like I can get a person fit, but then how do we express that in race results? How do we get that to represent what their get a time on the clock that represents what their workouts have shown us that they can do? And then he also discussed how it was kind of his own security that probably pushed him into training so hard, but not seeing the results that he wanted. So basically, he was pushing himself so hard that there wasn't a lot left for the races, right? And so in the end, he quickly touched on how as coaches, we can't just say it's mental or on the part of the athlete, right? Like, so they just talk themselves out of it or whatever. And I agree. Like you can't, like, sometimes it is a mental thing, but I think that is taken out of the equation a lot more if they are well equipped to handle um, the issues, right? So like if they're not used to things going wrong, then they're going to be kind of freaking out when things do go wrong in a race, which is a lot of times inevitable. And so that's like, but what physically happened, right? What can we physically fix in training to produce the results in the races that the fitness is showing that they can do. And I've thought about this a fair amount, and I think back to an inside joke that we had at Hanson's when I was with them, where we would experience an incredible training segment and then end up with a disappointing result. And we'd call it leaving our race at Stony, right? So if you guys know the Hanson's at all, do the vast majority of our workouts at Stony Creek Metropark, and so it's easy to do, like, and especially with this, because it was a group of anywhere from 10 to 20 guys in their 20s and early 30s who were very, very good runners, and some of the best in the country. And so it would be very easy for workouts to get out of control, right? And so and honestly, it'd be hard. I mean, Kevin and Keith would do what they could, but you're in a metro park on a road, and it's not like they're running with you, and it's like they see you at every mile, but like there's only so much they can do. And at the end of the day, we're grown men. We got to decide what we're going to do, right? And so sometimes we just wouldn't choose wisely. But we would call that leaving our race at Stony. And so I'll give you a perfect example that I did. I think I've shared this story before, but I was in, when was it? 2000. I say it was 2008 or 2009. I ran. So it was 2006 trials, maybe 2007 or 2008. I ran New York City Marathon, and I pretty much did it by myself. Nobody else was doing it. They were doing other stuff. And I remember we did our simulator, and we did it out on the dirt roads north of Rochester. There's some really beautiful dirt roads out there, but it's super hilly, right? And so we were trying to prep for New York. And I did a simulator pretty much solo. I think Fred Joslin was with me, and he paced me for a little bit. And then I remember Mike Morgan, Coach Mike, was hurt, and so he came out there and he was driving the course. And then Don was out there. Don Jackson, one of the assistant coaches, was out there, and Kevin and Keith were out of town. I think people were racing or something, and they were out of town. So in any case, I'm pretty much solo as far as people to run with. I just had Steve Fred with me, and then I remember I ran that. And so the simulator, we did 26.2K, so roughly 16 miles. And I ran that at 5:02 pace on dirt roads, hilly dirt roads by myself, where Don gave me water every little bit, right? And I was like, dang, I'm pretty fit. I'm really fit. And so from there, that was the first of a stretch, right? So we had that one. And then we had, I remember we had a 10-mile tempo. It was 5 and go. So 5 miles at marathon pace, 5 miles, just go, whatever you could do. And I remember I ran 49:30 for that 10-mile tempo. And then we did our 2x6 after that too. And then there was another big workout in there too. I can't remember what it was, but so basically 4 really big workouts in maybe a 3-week stretch. And I got to New York, and I could tell I was kind of fried, but I was like in such good shape that I'm like, this is going to be no problem, right? And so I thought I was going to do really, really well. And I went there, and nothing went to plan, right? And I think I ran 2:18, and I was trying to run like under 2:12 for sure, adjusting for the course. But I was like, dang, I'm going to be able to just crush this thing. I mean, I still finished 11th, so it's kind of hidden in there, but it was 11th, but it was a slow 11th. And it was just really, really disappointing. But that was a perfect example of me leaving my race at Stony. Like that 10-mile tempo at 49:30, it was within a week of doing the 26.2K at 5:02 pace, right? So it was like, and I just like, I went with it, and I just like, oh, this is so good. I'm so good. It's like, no, I should have just backed off and ran what I was supposed to. Or even, if I could have cut one of those workouts out, I would have. Like, I probably wouldn't need to do the 2x6 or something like that. But it was, that was a perfect example. I left everything out there. I was in peak shape probably a week and a half before I needed to be. Right? If I would have been able to push that out another week and a half, I would have run really, really fast. So I was super fit. The race result didn't come close to showing what I was capable of doing. Right? So, all right. So getting back to Steve's post. I mean, it was a quick post. It was only a couple paragraphs long, probably by design. I think he just wanted to get some people thinking about some stuff. But I kind of finished wishing that there was a little bit more, maybe a little bit more guidance for coaches, maybe. And what I wanted to see was more of a tie-in from the two great bullet points he made, which were getting fit is easy And then if you're sufficiently motivated, you can easily train yourself into the ground, right? I like those 2 points. I believe in them wholeheartedly, but I kind of wanted to tie that back into how does that proving ourselves in practice ruin a race day? Like, that's where I wanted to come back. So I kind of want to just I wanted to come back and maybe take a crack at that. So first of all, I think the link between getting fit and easy and ruining my race day. What is that link? What is the link between that? And that's what I sat down and really thought about. And I had the conversation recently about this, actually with Coach Alex. And we were talking about how some people are surprised when they sign up for coaching or buy a plan, and they're expecting these really top secret workouts. Um, and there really aren't any. There's not a lot of top secret stuff out there, and I can tell you right now, like, if somebody's coming to you and they say they have this revolutionary method of training or something, I would put money on it that there's nothing revolutionary about it. It's probably been around for 40, 50 years, maybe longer. It's just it was a different name back then, and it wasn't marketed right. But I can guarantee you can go back and find somebody who did the same thing earlier. There's not a lot of original stuff out there anymore. It's just a matter of, can you market it well, and can you put a fancy name on it and then get people to buy into it. But a lot of that stuff is not new. It's been around forever. And so just, kind of a side shoot there, but but my point is, like, there's not a lot of top secret stuff out there. Like, the biggest thing when we talk about being consistent, or like when Desi keeps talking about showing up every day, that's really as simple as it can be sometimes. Like, if you can just do that over and over and over again, and grind it out on the days you don't feel like doing it, and managing expectations and managing workouts and just getting the job done, and you can do that for weeks and then months and then years at a time, the amount you will improve is so much more than if you are going through a cycle of a few really great workouts and then I have to take downtime, a few really great workouts and then I have to take a step back. Like, it will take so much longer, that second route, than if you can just do a little bit and have a lot of, pretty average days that nobody really wants to put on Strava or post on social media, right? And that is the stone cold truth in my opinion. Um, Personally, I have a saying that if I can get a healthy person to just run 40 miles a week, and I can get them to do that for a few months, I can make them a pretty darn successful marathoner. Like, I could probably do that and get a person under 4 hours in the marathon pretty comfortably, if you can just do that, right? And so that's a lot of times all you need to do. We're sold in these, again, social media posts and Instagram stuff, and like all these people doing these crazy things. But it's like, how much longer did it take for them to get to that point, unless they would have just done it a boring, methodical way, right? And without no other fancy way to put it, right? But all right, but so to the point of getting fit is easy. I mean, it really is fairly easy. Again, using the air quotes, but I guess maybe easy isn't the right word, because you still have to do the work, and the work is not necessarily easy, right? Like, doing long runs isn't necessarily easy. Doing tempo runs is definitely not overly easy, but the process is simple, and simple is probably the better word, right? It's a simple process. Like, if with you look at the Hanson's Marathon method, if Tuesday you do this, and Thursday you do that, and Sunday you do this, and you can do that over and over and over again, you're going to get pretty fit. And there's nothing top secret about that, right? So like I said, the process of getting fit is relatively simple. If you can be consistent and do a little bit of work across the spectrum of paces, then you can get pretty fit after a few months. And where this relates to ruining your race day is when we try to take simple and make it complicated by focusing too much on data, on metrics, doing fancy workouts that don't really have any bearing on what you're trying to accomplish, or it's just too much for what you're trying to accomplish or where you're currently at. And that's not to say you don't necessarily need to do those ever. It's just, does it match up where you're currently at? The level of training that you're currently doing, does it require this crazy workout that you saw on social media? Chances are probably not, right? Like, that workout's not going to make or break what you're going to be capable of in a marathon, right? Now, several of those workouts over several years, maybe that's a different story, but in this case, probably not. But you wouldn't believe how many times I have simply taken an athlete, comes to us, they've maybe tried the plan in the book and it hasn't quite worked, or they've done other coaches, or they've made the carousel around all the different online coaches, and they come to us and they're like, I don't know what else to do. And so simply taking them, and instead of maybe doing a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, maybe even just doing a Tuesday, Friday, Sunday thing, and spacing out workouts more, or just moving them down to 5 days a week, or going from 6 workouts every 2 weeks to 4 to 5 every 2 weeks, and see how much they improve in a single segment. Right? Like I had a woman who came to me, and she came to me, and she had tried the plan in the book. She had tried everything. It seemed like she'd gone through every coach, and that just hadn't worked out. All I simply did was I looked at what she was trying to run. I looked at what she was training, and I'm like, you're just training too hard. You're doing too much for what you're trying to accomplish. And I see that I talk about this all the time, where like, if somebody's not successful, what's the first thing they do? They want to add more to it. Like, they think I'm not training hard enough, so I need to train harder. And so I spent one segment with her, and I said, okay, instead of, you know, cramming all these workouts in every week, let's space these out. And maybe, like I said, instead of doing 6 every 2 weeks, instead of doing Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday every week, let's do Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, and then the next week do like Wednesday, Saturday, something like that, right? And so we've spaced that out a little bit. We've allowed the body to recover. Mileage was relatively the same, but just allowing her to recover more. She went from like 345 in a marathon to like 325 in one segment, right? And it was just, it was always there. Like, it was always there. It was never, she was so broken down by the time she got to race that there was nothing left for the race, right? And now that is how that ties in, right? If we take the simple, make it complicated, and try to do more than what we need to, then a lot of times there's just nothing left for the race. And so that's how it ruins our race day. All right. So the second part, this kind of ties into the second part as well, which is that if you're motivated, it's quite possible to run yourself into the ground. And there's a lot to this. For one, I would say that the vast majority of people I work with, regardless of ability, they know how to work hard, right? And probably do too hard of work on certain workouts, right? They like, if good is good, better is better, right? And that's not always the case, right? If fast is good, faster is better, those types of things. This also ties into the first one, because it's easy to get fit and then they feel good and then they push it even harder, when all they need to do is kind of stay where they're at and continue to progress week after week. They would run much better off. But and then we do that, and we make things harder than they need to be, especially early in the segment. Like, if we're pushing too hard in the segment, we end up putting too much of ourselves in training, and there's nothing left for the race. So like, one analogy I've heard is that we're like a well, right? Like a water well. There's a finite amount of performances we have in our well. Every time we dip into that well to have a performance that is above what is required for the day, we pull from that well, right? And we do that too many times, there's not enough left in the well on race day, right? The well's dry. Now, of course, that doesn't mean no workouts should be hard. Like, some workouts are meant to be a come to Jesus moment, right? Like, holy cow, this is going to be intense, right? Some days you need to just have one of those workouts, right? But we're talking about 1 to 2 times a segment, right? We're not talking every Thursday on that tempo run. You need to be on the ground crying to your mama because you went so deep into the well, right? That's not how it should be. The vast majority of your workouts should really be average, right? They don't have to be great. Hopefully they're not all bad, just somewhere in the middle, right? Like, not like, and again, I hate to harp on the social media thing, but I think, and I get caught up in this too. Like, I'll have a great workout. It's like, man, I just got to go on Strava. I got to share that Strava screen because I got to get some likes. I got to get some new followers, right? And like, and it's like, but that's so little of what is actually making the training go well, right? Like, that's a culmination of things being average for a long time, and then once in a while you get a great day, right? So yeah, it's hard, and I get it. I totally understand it. But yeah, so I think, like I said, overall workout should just be really described as average. I felt average. I was able to bounce back, do the next workout when I needed to. It felt average, those types of things. Your week should be boring, sprinkled with a workout that didn't go particularly well for no apparent reason. It just didn't go well. And then even more seldom, you have a workout where things clicked and you just had to blow out the pipes on that big old supercharged aerobic engine you built, right? And that's fine too, right? And you have to just sometimes you just need that confidence booster. I get it, and you do it, but you just don't do it all the time, right? Like not like if you don't have one for a month, not a big deal. If things are pretty average for a month and things aren't bad, you're hitting your workouts, but there's nothing great. That's not a bad place to be in, guys. It's not a bad. It's okay. That's a lot of times in that mundane is where the magic is happening. All right, so why do I say have some bad workouts? And obviously not a string of poor performing workouts. Like you don't want to go like 2-3 weeks where workouts just progressively get worse and worse and worse, right? Like that's not a good sign either. But every once in a while, metaphorically, not physically, you should get punched in the mouth. And why do I say that? I say that because if you get punched in the mouth in a workout and you're like, crap, what happened? What's going on? And you can make those adjustments either, whatever you do. Like if, you like, there was only a couple of times I got pulled from workouts. I would say 2 or 3 times over 15 years, I got pulled from a workout from Kevin. And would I suffer? Oh, absolutely. But I always felt like I needed one workout where I just got punched in the mouth on the workout. Like I knew I was okay. I knew I was fit, but I just, for whatever reason on the one day, like I would get dropped. It would not go well. It would be way over my head for what I needed for the day. And I think Kevin realized and he let me suffer. He'd let me suffer through that. Obviously if it kept happening, then there was something going on. But that one time he would just let it happen because he knew okay, now, okay, you're not as fit as you think you are. And then you still have a lot of work to do. Let's just stay on track here. Right. And so I was thinking about that. Like it just, not a lot, but every once in a while. Right. And so, but what I said, you get punched in the mouth. How do you bounce back from that? Right. Like, do you push through the workout? Do you adjust and just adjust the paces and try to do what you can? Do you modify what you're doing on the fly? Or do you just give up, right? Like if you just give up, that's probably not good either. You can adjust and finish the workout and get something out of it. Um, but yeah, so like if that happens every once in a while, that's not a bad thing because you learn a lot about yourself. And then I hate to tell you, but like at some point things aren't going to go your way. And I would say we talk about the races where everything goes well. It's like that's a unicorn experience, right? Not a Boston thing. It's a unicorn in terms of it happens very rarely where everything just goes your way. And when you get those days, you thank God for them, right? But when 99% of the time, it's not going to happen. Like you're going to have to figure something out during the race. And so if you've never had to do that during the workouts, you're in a position where it's pretty easy to freak out. And then you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know what you're capable of. You don't know what your mindset's going to be. And so that's not bad. Like you can learn a lot from a really bad workout as much as you can from a really good workout, sometimes even more. So that's what I'm saying on that. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of your training should be pretty boring. Like I said, um, we can take something and shake it up now and then, maintain the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish. Like my bad, I mean like if you're bored just doing tempo runs every Thursday, yeah, we can shake that up. We can break those up into 3x3, 4-3-2-1 is what I give athletes. Like there's different things you can do. We could even put it into the long run and make that long run a little extra spicy for you. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can do to shake things up, but the purpose of what we're doing is not changing, right? The philosophy hasn't changed at all. It's just the lipstick is a different color this time, right? And so um, don't confuse those two things. But the secret is that there is no secret, and that it's just a lot of people don't want to do it or they can't wrap around their head that it's that simple of a process, right? And so um, and I'll be honest, I've looked at the logs of Greg Meyer. He shared his logs with us before he went to Boston. Seen Bill Rogers' logs. Seen a lot of people's logs that are really successful, way more successful than I ever was, and their training is boring. Like you look at it and you're like, they ran 208. He won Boston. There's nothing out here that says, oh man, the guy's ready to roll, right? Like, and that's what everybody's like, man. They're waiting for that one workout that's going to get the job done, and it's not the one workout, guys. It's all of them. It's all of them in a big old mixing pot. So to end, I think so. For me, if you can do the following, I think you'll see performances that are much more in line with what your fitness is indicating, and you'll be able to do that on a much more regular basis. It won't be as sporadic as it is for some people. So one, be really good at the basic stuff and never get too far away from those basics. I'm talking about just generally easy mileage, building a solid volume, not overdoing the workout paces, things like that. Most of your workouts should be the second thing, most of your workouts should be pretty boring. It should be allowing you to focus on the basics, right? So we're not focusing on all this jazzy stuff. We're focusing on an extension of a basic process of training, and most of our workouts should be just an extension of that. Be fairly boring. I get it. Some people come like, man, it's just so boring to do the same thing. I personally like that. Like, I don't know about you, but I personally like just boring stuff. Like, maybe just because I'm boring, but I like having a set schedule, and I like knowing what I'm doing on each day, and then you can go back and look at how that compared to what you did the last time, right? And so I just kind of like that. But all right, so three, a couple of workouts of segments should be ones that where you really test the current limits, and hopefully you can show yourself that you can hit that level, right? If you can hit that level in a workout, you can hit that level in a race. And then four, a couple of workouts should punch you in the mouth, metaphorically again, and force you to make game time decisions on whether you adjust, you give up, or you push through and do as much as you can as far as you can, right? And I think if you have those every once in a while, it's not a bad thing. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about how your mind will react and what you can do to kind of get through a rough patch. Because a lot of times, especially in a marathon, like you might hit that rough patch and you're like thinking, oh man, this is not going to go well. And then you manage it for 10 minutes and then it's gone. And then you're back and you're settling back into rhythm and stuff like that. So you can't just panic and expect the whole race to go that way. If you can adjust, a lot of times you can kind of work through those bad patches and then get back on track, right? But if you can do those four things, I promise you that you can leave your races at the race instead of at Stony or lane one of the workout track. Whatever the case is, you're not leaving your races in training. You're leaving enough in the well that you'll have something to draw upon in the race and be successful on race day. So keep that well full enough with reserves needed to complete and compete. So, all right, so that's it. But that is, you see that a lot with what we're doing in training. We a lot of times consider it training harder. We're trying to prove ourselves, trying to prove to teammates, whatever the case is, prove to coaches that we're fit. And a lot of times, that's not the case, right? All we're doing is drawing from that well and not leaving enough in reserve for race day where we can't truly race to what our fitness level currently is. So hopefully that helps some of you. Thanks for listening. I will talk to you later. All right, bye-bye.